All right, so let's try this chapter 2. And all right, so we're comparing the living stage, silver screen, and home theater. That's basically meaning being on stage, watching TV, or going to the movies. And there's this joke about how theater is more art and the film business is and television is more like furniture. And I'm sure everybody's heard a lot of disparaging things about television, and a lot of the theater people can be kind of snobby when it comes to comparing the theater versus television. And part of it is it deals with the idea that television doesn't what? It doesn't engage you. There is a lot of just sitting on the couch and becoming a couch potato. So, but for theater, there's more of an engagement when you're watching the show. People will stand in line. People stand in line for movies as well, but for theater, people will stand in line for just to watch that live, just to watch that live interaction. Theater people tend to be more college educated as well. Some of the things that you want to pay attention when you are going to see a performance. Know that you are going to be active in the participation of what you're seeing. And kind of like when I remember hearing somebody talking about the NASCAR racing, and how you don't ever want to see somebody crash, but that crash is also really exciting. And that's kind of like how live theater is at times. So you don't want to ever see somebody make mistakes, but because you know it's live, that makes that adds an extra element of excitement, because they can make a mistake at any point. Something different happens after every live performance. Now, in terms of acting, some of the differences between acting on stage and acting in the theater, and that picture right there is really gross, so I don't know why they have that. I'm gonna have to change that up because that's just not attractive. But but yeah, so it's acting on stage. You have to really be trained well, and there are things that being on stage will allow you to do that. Or there's things in the theater that will allow you to. Thank you. Get away with that you're not going to be able to get away with in film. So you have to be vocally strong in theaters because you project out to large houses. Your gestures have to be strong. You have to have more memorization skills. But when you're acting in film or television, because you can deal with being the camera so close to you, you can have more facial expressions that help you with the acting on film and television that you don't do in theater. And that sense of personality has to come across really strong in theater as well. I'm sorry, the sense of personality has to come across really strongly in film as well. A lot of the people that I know that are actors, they have strong personalities regardless of whether they're acting on stage or in film. And Actually, you know what? One of the things I remember a lot of when hip hop artists, rappers in particular, were getting becoming more and more popular and crossing over to film and television. One of the things that was noticed was that the charisma that rappers have when they're on stage really translates well when they're doing a movie or on TV. And so the popularity of using rappers as actors in film in film and television really skyrocketed because they're so energetic that that translates really well on stage. Now, when you're dealing with directing, you have to remember that in theater, the director has to share the responsibility with the, let me go back a little bit, has to share the responsibility with the playwright. And sharing responsibility doesn't mean what's going to finally be on stage, but a director can't change what the playwright has written in theater. But in the movies, the director can change whatever they want that the script writer has written. So if a director doesn't like a line, they can change it. And not only that, you can do that in the actors have a lot of control as well, depending on the kind of actor. So somebody like Jamie Foxx can be more popular than a director, and so Jamie Foxx can make up lines that aren't even in the script, and the person who wrote the script can't say anything, because it's it's Jamie Foxx, and he comes up with something that's funny that adds libs, and the director won't say anything because it's Jamie Foxx, and so something that's not written down can be used in a movie. But when theater, there's no ad libbing, there's no making something up. Whatever the playwright writes is what the playwright gets to see, and that's one of the things that's really frustrating for people who write and tell stories in terms of movies and television. So I remember knowing some people who will make a lot of money writing for television, but they're not satisfied artistically because every time they write something, the director or the producer or even the actor will chop it up, and it ends up being something totally different from what they actually wrote. So I actually know some people who will make a lot of money in LA writing movies, but they will leave all of that or just take some time off to write a play, because when they write a play, their words won't get changed. All right, now dealing with the money, film has to make money with box office sales, selling DVD rentals, and the product placement. So, when in this example, the Cheerios and the orange juice, they pay the producers of the movie to put their products in the movie. This is a very popular thing that happens. It doesn't really happen too tough in theater, though. Most of the time for theater, there is the National Endowment for the Arts, which is a government organization that helps to give money to theatrical events, and that's basically how a lot of theater gets money, because they can't make money in large scale from just ticket sales. Not enough people will go to a theater event in the amount that people go to films So they don't make as much money. So it's supported by the government and other ways. So concessions, selling food and everything like that. Let me go back, and that's how a lot of the movies or theater will get funded. Now, dealing with some issues there with in dealing with control, you can read that. Here's an interesting note too, something to keep in mind. Copyright, public domain. A lot of times it can be expensive to write a play or to produce a play because you have to pay the playwright, the person that wrote the play, money every time you put it on. So you guys, just finished writing a play. If I wanted to do that play, I would have to pay you to do that play. But when something comes into public domain, that means it's been the person who wrote the play has been dead for 70 years, or the person who wrote the song has been dead for 70 years. It goes into what's called public domain, and you no longer have to pay anybody to use it. That's why Shakespeare is so popular, because you don't have to pay Shakespeare to do his plays, and the plays are popular themselves. So a lot of people will do a Shakespeare plays because they can make money, and they don't have to pay Shakespeare to do it. All right, so that's a little bit about chapter 2, and hopefully the audio is all good, and I'll talk to you later with chapter 3.